Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Limpim Vishum. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 17th of March. US hands over evidence on 26/11 mastermind Lakhvi to Pakistan. Avijit Roy's killers will be brought to book, says Bangladesh Law Minister. And Pakistan remains tense after protests against twin church attacks turn violent. And now for all the details. The United States has reportedly handed over credible evidence against dreaded terrorist Zakir Rahman Lakhvi in the 2008 Mumbai attacks case to Pakistan. This comes days after a Pakistani court declared his detention in the case illegal.
Credible evidences linking Zakir Rahman Lakhvi to the 26/11 attack has been handed over to investigators in Pakistan, a senior US official has said. Washington, however, refused to provide information about the nature of the evidence as the trial was still ongoing in a Pakistani court. Welcoming the move, New Delhi said India has already handed over enough proof to Islamabad connecting Lakhvi to the terror strike.
मुझे नहीं लगता कि इस विषय को लेकर के कोई अधिक और कोई विस्तार में चर्चा करने की आवश्यकता है, क्योंकि समय समय पर भारत सरकार की ओर के हमारे विदेश मंत्रालय की ओर से आदरणीय विदेश मंत्री जी की ओर से वक्तव्य दिए जा चुके हैं.
Many also questioned the sincerity of Pakistani prosecutors in bringing Lakhvi to justice.
एविडेंस की कमी नहीं है, हम लोगों ने भी एविडेंस दिया, पाकिस्तान ने खुद एविडेंस कलेक्ट किया, उनके एफआईआर ने, उनके प्रोसिक्यूटर्स ने उसको लगता है कि कोर्ट के सामने रखा ही नहीं, उसको प्रोसिक्यूट नहीं किया ठीक से.
Lakhvi, along with 6 others, were arrested by Pakistan in December 2008 for plotting and executing the terror attack on India's commercial hub Mumbai that killed 166 people. His trial has, however, been dragging for years despite international pressure. The delay in the court proceedings had resulted in him being granted bail last year. He was soon taken back into detention following strong reaction from India. The Islamabad High Court had last week ruled his detention illegal and ordered his release. But the government has extended his custody by another month after India made its protest on the dreaded terrorist walking free.
Pakistan remained tense on the third consecutive day on Tuesday as the Christian community continued its protests against the twin church attacks that killed 15 people in Lahore. Civil society also joined in the demonstrations seeking safety of the religious minorities in Pakistan.
Lahore continued to witness protests as various Christian organizations held marches across the city against the terror strike on 2 churches. A heavy contingent of paramilitary troops was deployed in the eastern part of the city to prevent any untoward incident. 1 person was killed and 2 others were injured in clashes that broke out on Monday between the police and the protesters. A case has also been registered against persons involved in the mob lynching of 2 people who were allegedly linked to the attackers. Christians in other parts of Pakistan also staged protests. Hundreds marched in Multan demanding security for the community and their places of worship. Similar protests were held in Faisalabad, Gujranwala and Chaman. Protests turned violent in Bhawalpur as the angry mob tried to block roads and clash with police. In the southern commercial hub of Karachi, civil society joined the Christians during a vigil.
We just demand justice. We as citizens of Pakistan expect to be treated as citizens of Pakistan, allowed to worship freely, allowed to worship in our churches.
मैं शदीद मज़म्मत के साथ साथ ये कहूँगी कि अब मज़म्मत का वक्त गुजर गया है और वफाकी हुकूमत और सूबाई हुकूमतों को अब सिर्फ अमल दरामद का वक्त आ गया है.
Yuhanabad, a Christian neighborhood in Lahore, was rocked by blasts on Sunday when Taliban suicide bombers targeted 2 churches when hundreds were offering prayers. The minority community, which makes up just 2% of Sunni majority Pakistan, has come under regular attacks by extremist groups. Christians have long complained about the lack of security the community members face for their lives, businesses and places of worship.
Bangladeshi investigators are making all efforts towards probing the murder of atheist US blogger Avijit Roy, Law Minister Anisul Haq has said. He also promised that the accused will be brought to book soon.
Attending a seminar in capital Dhaka on Tuesday, Law Minister Anisul Haq said there was no place for religious extremism in Bangladesh. At the special event organized by activists to condemn the murder of progressive writer Avijit Roy, Haq vowed that the perpetrators of the crime will not be let away.
আমি আপনাদেরকে এই কথা দিয়ে যেতে পারি বিচার হবে আমরা এই কালচার থেকে বেরিয়ে যখন এসেছি এই কালচার আমরা একটা কালচার আমরা সৃষ্টি করে যাব যে 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 অন্যায় করে তার বিচার হয় তার সাজা হয় কোনো অন্যায়কারী সাজা ব্যতীত যেতে পারবেন না বাংলাদেশে কেউ মনে করতে পারবে না যে সে আইনের ঊর্ধ্বে ইনশাআল্লাহ আমরা সেই বাংলাদেশ গড়ে দিয়ে যাব
Born US citizen Roy was an engineer by profession. He became a prominent figure among liberals and free thinkers for his criticism on religious extremism. This had also made him a target of many extremist groups. Roy was hacked to death on February 26 in Dhaka by unidentified men. His wife and fellow blogger Rafida Ahmed was also injured in the attack. The family said Roy was receiving threats to life for some time.
যারা একটি ইসলামের নামে থিওক্রেটিক স্টেট বিনির্মাণ করার জন্য আপ্রাণ প্রচেষ্টা চালাচ্ছে এবং সেই জন্য তারা অস্ত্র হাতে তুলে নিয়েছে অভিজিৎ সেই তাদের সেই দর্শনের শিকার
Following the murder of Roy, hundreds of protesters had poured onto the streets of the capital city demanding justice for him. Even though the investigators have arrested 2 people with regard to the case, none have admitted of committing the crime so far. At the request of Dhaka, a special team of FBI is also assisting the local investigators in the probe.
Exiled Kashmiri nationalist leaders continue to raise the issue of human rights in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. At a side event of the United Nations, many called on the international communities to intervene. A report.
The leaders during the 28th session of Human Rights Council in Geneva highlighted the human rights violations in the occupied region of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan. The event, titled Human Rights in South Asia, was organized by the United Kashmir People's National Party and other organizations from the Himalayan belt. The speakers blamed Pakistan for the extrajudicial killings and for treating the region like its colony.
Gilgit-Baltistan and so-called Exiled Kashmir are not part of Pakistan, and we must have every right to express our opinion on that and protest against imperial policies of Islamabad.
A part of the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, both Gilgit-Baltistan and POK were illegally annexed by Pakistan over 6 decades back. Islamabad continues to control the region through a puppet administration and a semblance of democracy.
We have a country where we have a prime minister. We have, or a piece of land, or you can call, we have a prime minister, we've got our own judiciary, we've got our own elected assembly, but in fact it's not a country. It is not recognized by its very close neighbor and friend, Pakistan.
In a bid to strengthen its ties with Beijing, Islamabad has virtually ceded control of Gilgit-Baltistan to China. The Chinese are not only exploiting the mineral wealth of this part of Kashmir, but have started meddling in local politics too.
So basically we are a vital link between Pakistan and China in terms of the economic growth, especially for Pakistan because Pakistan is dependent on China. But unfortunately all of that development that I'm talking about from 1960s all the way till today has been going on without the participation of the local people. And again, because we don't have the political institutions, we don't have membership in Pakistani political institutions, we are a disputed area, so we are denied those rights or decision making, and that will affect the interest of the local people. Pakistan and China will be able to benefit from Gilgit-Baltistan at the expense of the local people, basically.
12 prominent political activists of Gilgit-Baltistan were given life in prison under the Anti-Terrorism Act in September last year. Leaders like Baba Jan, Hunzai and Iftikhan Hussain were also detained for allegedly instigating a demonstration in support of internally displaced people of the Hunza Valley.
The political stalemate in Bangladesh does not seem to show any signs of ending soon, with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina ruling out of any dialogue with the opposition. The country is in the grip of a continued indefinite shutdown imposed by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party for over 2 months now.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has refused to have any dialogue with the opposition until they shun violence and end the ongoing shutdown. She also accused former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia of instigating violence in the country in the name of shutdown. Hasina's remark came days after the BNP Supremo called for a dialogue with the government to end the crisis. The international community and the UN have also reiterated the need for the two warring leaders to sit and resolve their differences. Bangladesh has been in the throes of a series of violent blockades and an indefinite shutdown spearheaded by the BNP and its allies since January. The party, which boycotted the general elections last year, is demanding fresh polls under a non-partisan caretaker government. The lingering violence has claimed over 200 lives so far. The blockade has also affected the nation's economy. According to various industrial bodies, Bangladesh has already suffered losses of over $16 billion, which is nearly half of the budget for the financial year. The IMF has also reduced the GDP growth of Bangladesh to 6% from the government target of 7.3%.
Pakistan on Tuesday hanged 12 convicts, the highest number of people executed on the same day ever since it lifted the moratorium on capital punishments. According to the Interior Ministry, those executed included men convicted for terrorism, murder, or were involved in heinous crimes. After the latest series of executions, the total number of hanged convicts stood at 39, ever since the Nawaz Sharif government reinstated the capital punishments in aftermath of the Peshawar school massacre that killed 142 people. Pakistan had last week reformed the policy to execute not just militants but also all death row prisoners whose mercy appeals have been rejected. They might be gearing up for their big day, but they also took time off to do something more. Take a look at how these expecting mothers came out of the closet to walk the ramp.
Expecting mothers challenged the notions about maternity fashion as they took to the runway at a special event in western Mumbai. The show, aimed at encouraging mothers to step out during the pregnancy period, was organized by a parenting magazine and a stem cell bank. Mothers walked the ramp in both ethnic and western attire. Actor Amrita Raichan said judging such a fashion show was special.
हमेशा औरत को लगता है कि मैं सुंदर नहीं लग रही हूँ, मैं मुझे घर में ही बैठना चाहिए, तो ये जो इवेंट है इसके माध्यम से इन सब औरतों को एक रीज़न मिल रहा है to look pretty and to look beautiful and to look gorgeous.
For the participants, it was an emotional venture as they thanked their husbands and family members for supporting them at the crucial time.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. US hands over evidence on 26/11 mastermind Lakhvi to Pakistan. Avijit Roy's killers will be brought to book, says Bangladesh Law Minister. And Pakistan remains tense after protests against twin church attacks turn violent. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.